Welcome to week 11, where we will be covering chapter 10, which is all about aggression. Here is your to-do list for this week, and it includes another extra credit opportunity. I know that some of you were unable to do the last one, and I just wanted to make sure I give a good variety of extra credit so that everyone has the opportunity to do at least one, which will help you out a little bit. So if we skip down to the chapter objectives, here they are. It's a lot of theory here in looking at aggression, people's reasoning for where aggression stems from, and then the different perspectives on how it develops over someone's life span. So we're going to take a look at Freud, Lorenz, and some different evolutionary perspectives on aggression, and then more of the current sort of guiding theories that we use today, which would be drive theories of aggression. There's a couple different takes on the drive behind aggression, that it takes something to make us aggress out, that it's the emotion behind it. So we'll be looking at outlining the different variables involved in general aggression model and how that model operates, as well as the frustration aggression hypothesis. However, if we look at frustration aggression hypothesis, it has been kind of a rule of thumb guiding for a long time on and where aggression stems from, but it's really not considered to be accurate by contemporary social psychologists, and you're going to be taking a look at why that is, and it requires sort of looking at it from a biological as well as from an evolutionary perspective, as well as social learning theory. So we're going to be going back to some of that to take a look at that. We're going to be outlining some of the major points of excitation transfer theory, that when we're excited in one domain, or let's say angry, that it can actually transfer over onto other domains. We'll be looking at the correlations between violence and media, as well as what the culture of honor means today, discussing some of the issues that go along with that, as well as some individual differences in the causes behind aggression. We've talked a little bit about type A behavior and its links to anger and aggression, how type A individuals are at risk for heart disease because of the hostility and the instrumental aggression that is shown in that type of personality behavior pattern. And then that gets us a little bit into talking about hostile attributional bias, which basically says that we assume people are coming from a place that is hostile. And so when we go into our interactions with other people, viewing them as potentially hostile, and that's what we are looking for, we are certainly going to find it. So these people tend to come across more discord and more volatile interpersonal relationships rather, in their day-to-day dealings with people. We'll look at the gender differences in aggression, as well as how different environmental variables can affect aggression, and then the characteristics of the current culture of bullies, their victims, and the ways bullying behavior can be reduced if we understand the sources of aggression. This can help us to target a very applicable aspect of it, which is bullying, as well as workplace violence, which has been on the rise for adults. We'll look at whether or not punishment is an effective deterrent to violence, and if so, what kind, what type, how often, sort of the pros and cons there, as well as looking at the veracity of the catharsis hypothesis. So is it good to let out or vent our anger in healthy ways? Is it good to channel that anger in positive directions? Or is it better to get to the cognitions and the emotions behind it? That's sort of what we'll dive into there. And then lastly, we'll be looking at some different interventions, various techniques, both cognitive and non-cognitive, that can be used to reduce aggression, and we're seeing these used in a lot of anger management therapies and programs today. So your article reading that goes along with all of this would be Article 31, and it's really going to dive into gender differences in aggression, and it's going to be tied to your discussion questions as usual for the week. But I also want you integrating in the lecture slides and Chapter 10 into the discussion posts. I noticed last week many people were not even touching on the book or the chapter, so make sure that you're integrating those in. The videos this week are all very short, with the exception of this one that's 29 minutes, America the Rude. You're going to access this through the Films on Demand database out of the Ely Library or Westfield State Library database. So you're just going to go into databases A through Z from the library website, and you're going to click on Films on Demand and type in America the Rude, and it will pull this up. And what you're going to be looking for in this video really is sort of where we're at as a society, as a culture of Americans, with decorum when it comes to our dealings with other people. How do we treat other people? What is our culture moving towards? Do the golden rules still apply? You know, treat people as you would want to be treated, and so forth. How has the rise of aggression impacted us here in the U.S.? And how has that impacted respect for authority, trust for one another, as well as the willingness to give a helping hand? If you know, last week we just covered pro-social behavior, aggression, and the content covered in this chapter is so tied to our willingness to help out other people and engage in pro-social acts. So a lot of what you're going to be looking at in this video in particular will piggyback on the material that we covered last week. Then there's a video with Bandura's original experiment on modeling aggression. Take a little bit of a look at that, as well as, again, some gender difference in current media with movies and media and such, looking at aggression in females. So we'll take a look there. And again, these videos are all in addition to the videos that are also in Revel, embedded in the reading of the chapter. So your discussion for this week then asks you to integrate the text chapter, Chapter 10, as well as Article 31, and answer the question, do you feel that aggression is biological, that it stems from the drive reduction theory, i.e. the frustration-aggression hypothesis, or is it socially learned? And so here's where you want to back up your answer and support it by citing sources from the reading that lend themselves to your opinion. You know, whether you think it's biological or whether you think it's learned, you want to find support for your position and then use that here. So definitely make sure that you're citing that evidence as support. The part 2 of the discussion is more going off of the article. The article states that women who commit the same aggressive acts as men may be less likely to be sentenced for them. So you want to unpack that a little bit. What factors, other than the actual crime, might influence sentencing decisions on the part of the judge or the jury or what have you? Why would women receive differential sentencing than men for the same sorts of aggressive acts? What could be playing a role there? So to really answer that question, you're going to want to go back to some of the things that we've already talked about in previous chapters. Article 31 is great. It's got some stuff in there that you can definitely use to support your opinion here. But, you know, if you go back to the social perception chapter or the social cognition chapter, how do our thoughts and our perceptions drive our reactions and drive our decision making and our judgments I want you putting in some of the concepts, some of the theories that we've talked about, heuristics, different cues in our environment that we use, stereotypes. How might these alter our judgments when it comes to something of this nature that we're talking about? So again, just make sure you're integrating all your sources to answer that question. Okay, the extra credit for this week deals with random acts of kindness. So you all are going to have a chance to go out and do something kind and then basically write about it. I've included this YouTube video that shows a girl doing 21 different random acts of kindness. She chose for her 21st birthday to go out and do 21 nice things for other people, and she videotaped it. There's some really cool ideas, some very simple suggestions. You can you're more than welcome to try any one of those things that she did. However, if you want to branch out on your own and do something, just make sure it's something out of your normal repertoire. So we're not talking about holding a door open for somebody or, something that you would normally kind of do on a daily basis. Go outside what is the norm for you. What's kind of out of your wheelhouse of comfort to go out and kind of make an impact and do something nice for somebody else. Somebody you know or a stranger, it doesn't really matter. Once you do that, you're going to click on here and you're going to just write about it. Use the same format you would in your weekly discussions. Tell us what you did, why you chose to do what you did, and how you felt afterwards. If you were present for the person's reaction, like if you got to see how they reacted, let us know, tell us that. But if sometimes we're not, sometimes we do something nice for someone and we're not there when they receive it and we don't know how they received it. So either way, just tell me a little bit about that. Okay, and that is going to be due next Friday on the 22nd. So you have a little bit of time to do that. And then lastly, you guys have an exam this week, which is covering chapters 9 and 10. So that's prosocial behavior and aggression. And that will be covered on exam 5. That pretty much wraps up the week. So please let me know if you have questions. Definitely come in and see me or shoot me an email, and I would be glad to help you out. Happy Veterans Day, everyone, for Monday. Enjoy the day and have a great week.